Hi, this is Steve Larson, otherwise known as Sergeant Beast Larson on the YouTube channel. We've been talking about leadership and supervision. We, meaning myself, Tier Talk guys, Anthony and Russ, and Just Corrections, William Young, Gary York, True Prison Stories. We've talked about building supervision. Are you good? Are you ready to be a supervisor, etc.? Today, I'll be very brief, but this is directly who should be the warden, who should be in charge. Let's talk about the top of leadership. What's important to you? As you know, I announced I'm running for the county jailer. Kentucky is the only state where the jailer is actually elected, and it does not fall under responsibility of the sheriff. So for those of you in the other 49 states, your sheriff that runs the county jail, let's talk about him, as well as the prison, the wardens, the superintendents, whoever is directly in charge. Let's talk about them for a second. What if that was put to a vote and it wasn't just the normal apply? Send in your application, go into an interview, you present yourself, you talk about how great you are, put your skills out there, and a panel decides. What if your input from the COs to the sergeants all the way up to the number 2, everybody that's not applying for that position, has the ability to send in who they would vote for and why. Whether it's a blank essay or a couple questions. You know, who has the most experience, who's the best leader, who's the best manager. You notice I said leader and manager. They're different. You need somebody in charge that represents both. I worked for 2 wardens down in Georgia at the prison. One was a leader and one was a manager. By true definition of Webster and every other leadership style you can pull up through Google, one of these was exactly the leader, one was a manager. And I learned from both what to do and what not to do, as we're supposed to. But what if this was put to a vote? Who would you vote for? What would be important? These are just a few things that I'm going to throw out there, and let's have a debate and discussion over this. Experience. You need somebody with experience, somebody who has worked inside, not just somebody who's plugged in. And experience, what do I mean by experience? Several things. Somebody who's been through working knowledge, for instance, I'm just going to go through a list really quick. Start off with PREA. PREA is very important, but somebody who's actually been there, taken the complaint from an inmate, separated them, separated both of the victim and the alleged offender, put them in different places, different dorms. And then you have to deal with the impact of that dorm where they were in the first place, handling that. So there's actually 3 elements to that. Go through the investigation, and then what do you do afterwards, depending on the finding. Somebody has experience with PREA. Somebody who understands the isolation unit, for instance. We had a 30-day isolation, and we had a long-term isolation. And if you look at the number, our total inmates at that prison versus the 2 different units, 1/3 of our inmates were in isolation for multiple reasons. So you need to understand the workings of that and how it's important for the safety of the institution. Speaking of safety, what's important? Safety of your staff, safety of all personnel inside, safety of the inmates. There is that responsibility. So you need to find the right leader who's going to protect and watch over you, support you, have your back, your best interests, as well as somebody who has to protect the inmates regardless of their crime, regardless of what they've done or what they're presently doing. No matter how horrendous and horrific it can be, we're still responsible for them. That becomes important. Somebody who's actually ran a chow hall, worked in a chow hall to understand the dynamics of that, prison-wise, serving food. Somebody who's handled and been a part of escorts to court, escorts to the hospital, when they get stabbed and they have to have further medical attention than just what's inside in the infirmary. How to handle the immediate medical requests, how ridiculous to serious they are, because this is a liability. And this can easily result in a lawsuit if not treated correctly. That's important to know. To know how, when, and where to recruit, how to train. Somebody who's had some experience with training is very handy. Understanding the key issues of liabilities inside. Those are quite important. The two different wardens I worked for, one came from a counseling background, degree in psychology. And that was important, but he also understand the authoritarian, the participant, and the delegation types of leadership, as well as transactional and transformational. Transformational, according to Google, and leadership's modes and models, is the most important. Why? Because the transformational, they inspire with a vision. They have a plan. They encourage, they empower others to achieve it and serve as a role model. They're not just dictating or delegating. They're not just to lead by example only, always follow me because I know the most and I've been here the longest. That might not be the right style of leadership for you. They need to understand and know this. To build your staff, build them up, to motivate them, not to break them down, not to show difference and separation and good old boy and favoritism. These things are very important in your decision to vote for somebody. Who do you want to be the warden at prison? We had about 1,050 inmates, over 900 life without parole, never getting out. So to them, this was their life, their community. That warden served as a mayor of a city, if you will. Now, the second warden I worked for, he had worked his way up, went through the ranks. He did work through all these types of jobs. He had that working knowledge, and he was very present in several of the different aspects. Things were getting bad, you could look over your shoulder, and more likely than not, you would see him there in a dorm. He lived close by. If something happened bad at nighttime, we had 3 officers that were brutally attacked with broomsticks and mop handles. He was there really fast to support his people. Really fast he was there. So think about this. I just want to wrap this up really quick. It's been about 7 minutes. Post your comments. What would be most important to you, or important? Give 5 reasons if it's on your mind, if it's on your heart. But who would you vote for? I would vote for somebody who would fulfill all of these requirements. And these are things that I have found and seen during my career. Let me end this with one example. A warden, when I was on the tactical squad, we would travel to other prisons and do searches. And we had a warden challenge us that morning. If you find this and that, I'll do push-ups with you. I'll break bread. I'll eat. That's what they referred to as I'll eat. We found a lot of weapons, and he gave us a number. If you find more than this. Anyhow, he took off his suit coat, had a shirt and tie on, and he dropped down and did 50 push-ups with us, with those that wanted to, which when you're on a tactical squad was everybody. So we all sit down and we ate together in our push-ups, and then we ate together in a meal. We shared fellowship at the end of that. That warden, he didn't last long as a warden because he was promoted very quickly. He demonstrated the best combination of everything I've talked about so far. He was the ultimate leader in corrections that I saw and that I met and got to experience his style. He was very impressive. That's the kind of guy I would vote for. Taking care of your people, and your people means at work, taking care of your people, which also means anything that's in their personal life that comes up. My work, they took care of me yesterday. My daughter had her tonsils out 5 days ago now, and not eating and drinking. I had to go to the emergency room, had to take sick day yesterday. Not a problem, they took care of me. That's what needs to happen. So post your comments, tell me what you think. This is our way, all of us that are not wardens and superintendents and sheriff and jailers, our way to contribute to the building and restructuring, if needed, and perfecting management from the top down. We need to express ourselves with our input, our ideas and suggestions. And those that are on top and have the ability to listen, please listen. Communication is key. And communication is the listening as well as the speaking. See y'all soon.